Aloha and good morning, everyone. It is Thursday, April 3rd, 2025, and the time is 9:03 a.m. Will the Committee on Zoning meeting please come to order? I would like to welcome committee members, Vice Chair Dos Santos Tam, Councilmember Cordero, Councilmember Okimoto, and Councilmember Wire will be here shortly. If we could have quiet in the audience, please. And I see Councilmember Wire coming. If you need conversations, you guys can take it outside. Although remote oral testimony is being permitted, this is a regular in-person meeting and not a remote meeting by interactive conference technology under HR Section 92-3.7. Therefore, the meeting will continue notwithstanding loss of audiovisual communication with remote testifiers or loss of the public broadcast of the meeting. Members of the public will be allowed to provide oral testimony on all items on the agenda when each item is taken up in two ways, in person in the council chamber and remotely via video conference or phone. Before testifying, each person shall state their name for the record. Each speaker will be limited to a 1-minute presentation per item. All persons who registered to testify in person will be called upon first. Persons who did not register will be given an opportunity to offer testimony after the registered testifiers. Once in-person testimony has concluded, I will proceed to the remote testifiers. When I call your name or the last 3 digits of your phone number, please follow the prompts to unmute. As both English and Hawaiian are official languages of the state of Hawaii, pursuant to Article 15, Section 4 of the Hawaii State Constitution and Section 113 of the Hawaii Revised Statutes, members of the public may testify in either language. For oral testimonies offered in Olelo, Hawaii, additional time as may be necessary will be allowed for the testifier to provide an English translation of their testimony. Written testimonies, including the testifier's address, email address, and phone number, will be available to the public as described on the posted agenda. As a courtesy, please turn off or silence all cell phones for the duration of this meeting. Thank you. Moving to agenda item number 1 for extension of time only. Members, the first item on our agenda is to approve an extension of time only for Resolution 25-78. Verbal testimony will be limited to comments on the extension of time only, and we will not be discussing the substantive provisions of the resolution at today's meeting. This resolution grants a special management area permit to the State of Hawaii Department of Land and Natural Resources, Division of Forestry and Wildlife, to allow for the construction of physical improvements to Kiaʻāina Ridge Trail and the implementation of a strategic management plan on approximately 4.6 acres of land, consisting of portions of 5 zoning lots, Zone R5 Residential District, R10 Residential District, and P1 Restricted Preservation District, located at Kaʻelipulu Drive in Lanikai, and identified as tax map keys 42002, 16, 017, 048, and 43007, 018, and 077. This special management area permit, major permit, has complicating factors regarding easements. The applicant owns the Kiaʻāina Ridge Trail, which is the old military access road leading to the Lanikai Pillbox observation stations. Mauka of the trail, there is a 10-foot wide public access easement granted by the Bluestone Condominium Association in favor of the applicant. The trail meanders into this easement. There is also a second pathway that runs parallel to a segment of the trail on the Makai side. The project includes acquiring the second pathway as an additional 20-foot wide easement along this segment of the trail on the Makai side. The acquisition of this 20-foot wide easement is being separately negotiated between the applicant and landowners Kimberly and Timothy Smythe. The Smythe property is the subject of a separate special management area major permit being considered at today's meeting under Resolution 25-80. Finally, there is an additional 10-foot wide strip of private property that runs parallel to a segment of the trail on the Makai side, from the trailhead to the second pathway on the Smythe property. This 10-foot wide strip of land serves as an access road for the property owned by Pu'ulani Kai. The applicant has not reached an agreement with Pu'ulani Kai to acquire an easement for a portion of the access road and has decided to forego obtaining an easement. I find this is concerning. If the applicant does not obtain an easement, visitors to the trail would inevitably trespass over this property because this portion of the trail starting at the trailhead is too narrow to accommodate hikers going in both directions. I will be recommending a 90-day extension of the deadline for council action on this resolution to give the Department of Land and Natural Resources more time to negotiate an easement with the owners of Pu'ulani Kai. Members, for your information, the written request for a 90-day extension of time is available online as miscellaneous communication 187-2025. Before I call up the administration, I would like to take public testimony. Proceeding first with in-person testimony in the council chamber. Clerks, do we have any in-person testifiers for this item?
Chair, we have one standing by.
When I call your name, please come forward to the testifier podium and begin by stating your name for the record. Please conclude your remarks promptly when you hear the buzz of the timer. We have Marigold Zoll from the Department of Land and Natural Resources.
Aloha, council members. My name is Marigold Zoll. I'm with the Department of Land and Natural Resources, Division of Forestry and Wildlife, and I'm just here to answer any questions you may have about this item. Mahalo.
Proceeding on with remote testimony. Clerks, do we have any remote testifiers for this item?
Chair, there are none.
For the administration, we have Don Takeuchi Apuna, Director of Planning and Permitting. And members, if you would also have questions for the applicant, I would entertain it at this time after you ask any questions of DPP.
Good morning. The department doesn't have any objections to the extension. Thank you.
Members, do you have any questions for the director or for the applicant? Seeing none, the chair notes the time needed to consider Resolution 25-78 may exceed the current deadline for council action. The chair therefore recommends that the resolution be granted a 90-day extension of time pursuant to the request from the applicant's agent in miscellaneous communication 187-2025. Any discussion, any objections or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Moving to agenda item number 2, Resolution 25-81. This resolution adopts a revision to the public infrastructure map for the North Shore Sustainable Communities Plan area to add a government building symbol in the vicinity of the zoning lots identified as tax map keys 59011, 068, 069, and 070. I will now defer to Councilmember Wire, the introducer of the resolution, for an explanation.
Mahalo, Chair. This is a resolution that follows from the budget discussions about the North Shore First Responder Center at Sharks Cove. I'll just note that I think, as we all know, PIM symbols don't obligate the city to anything cloud title, simply a requirement before utilizing acquisition funds. And so it's submitted for that purposes and would allow the conversation to continue as the administration engages in negotiations.
Thank you for the explanation. Before I call up the administration, I would like to take public testimony. Proceeding first with in-person testimony in the council chamber. Clerks, do we have any in-person testifiers for this item?
Chair, there are none.
Is there anyone else in the council chamber who would like to testify on this item? Please come forward to the testifier podium and begin by stating your name. Seeing none, promoting on with remote testimony. Clerks, do we have any remote testifiers for this item?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you so much. For the administration, we have Don Takeuchi Apuna, Director of Planning and Permitting.
Thank you, Chair. We have no objections to this resolution.
Members, are there any questions for the director? If there are no questions, the chair recommends that Resolution 25-81 be reported out for adoption. Any discussion, any objections or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Moving to agenda item number 3. For action, Resolution 25-82. This resolution adopts a revision to the public infrastructure map for Ko'olau Poko Sustainable Communities Plan area to add a government building symbol in the vicinity of the zoning lot identified as tax map key 49001-017. I will now defer to Councilmember Wire, the introducer of the resolution, for an explanation.
Mahalo, Chair. I think as we all recognize, there's an increased need in the community for access to first responder services, particularly ambulance services. This resolution stems from conversation with the landowner, the community, and the department about increasing ambulance presence, particularly in Kolapoko. Just noting again that this is creating a PIM symbol, which would facilitate or allow for future plans. Doesn't change the priority or the order of the projects in the pipeline, and so it would just be PIM symbol on the map to give, of course, the public an opportunity to comment and also to guide the direction of our future planning over the next couple of years. Mahalo.
Thank you. Before I call up the administration, I would like to take public testimony. Proceeding first with in-person testimony in the council chamber. Clerks, do we have any in-person testifiers for this item?
Chair, there are none.
Is there anyone else in the council chamber who would like to testify on this item? Please come forward to the testifier podium and begin by stating your name. Seeing none, proceeding on with remote testimony. Clerks, do we have any remote testifiers for this item?
Chair, we have Angela Young standing by.
Ms. Young, can you please proceed?
Yes, I will keep it short. I'm just in strong support of the North Shore community because so we go out to Haleiwa a lot with my family members and to support the economic development. So District 2, it's growing and there's tourism and sustainable operations to help with the population capacity to sustain the growth there. And the food and restaurant operations are gaining an audience from international nations. So it's becoming an international sensation for arts, music, and culture. And so to prepare for resilience and to have a building for first responder emergencies, I think it's very necessary. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone else standing by remotely who would like to testify on this item? Please use the raise hand feature to indicate your desire to speak. Seeing none, for the administration, we have Don Takeuchi Apuna, Director of Planning and Permitting.
Thank you, Chair. We have no objections to this resolution.
Members, any questions?
Oh.
And for discussion, do you have questions or for discussion?
For just a question in general.
Sure.
This goes for all of the 3 PIM maps. I've expressed in the past that there's a number of sort of old and obsolete things, projects that either have been completed, which DPP has the authority to remove, or projects that never came to fruition. Is the department going to use this as an opportunity to remove some of these old symbols at some point in the next, I don't know, year or so?
Yes, we're working on exactly that, making sure that it's cleaned up and we can work with the council on doing that. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Member, any other questions or discussion? The chair therefore recommends that Resolution 25-82 be reported out for adoption. Any discussion, any objections or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Moving to agenda item number 4. For action, Resolution 25-88. This resolution adopts a revision to the public infrastructure map for the Central Oahu Sustainable Communities Plan area to add a park symbol in the vicinity of the zoning lot identified as tax map key 94002-064. Members, the introducer of the resolution, Councilmember Wire, has asked that this measure be postponed. I will therefore be recommending that action on this resolution be postponed. I would now like to take public testimony. Proceeding first with in-person testimony in the council chamber. Clerks, do we have any in-person testifiers for this item?
Chair, there are none.
Is there anyone else in the council chamber who would like to testify on this item? Seeing none, we'll move on to remote testimony. Clerks, do we have any remote testifiers for this item?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you so much. Do we have, actually, I'm sorry. Moving forward, the chair then recommends that action on Resolution 25-88 be postponed to a date and time to be determined by the committee chair. Any discussion, any objections or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered.
Chair, just quick discussion, if I may.
Oh, okay.
Apologies, I just wanted to give the committee an update. So we are still having conversations. I know some of the landowners of this particular parcel have already had conversations with DPP, I think, over the past couple of years on other issues. Given that there's multiple owners, we're going to make sure we have all the conversations with everyone before coming back to the committee. So just
Sure.
wanted to let you know. Mahalo.
And I understand that my staff has been contacted with your office. For the other two PIMs, I allowed it to move forward. For this next one, I would like it to be reviewed by the DPP. They have 75 days to review it before it would be agendized. So I just want to let you know that.
Okay, I appreciate that. I just note if we're looking at 75 days, we would probably need to pass it before the budget if it materializes.
You guys are going to have to figure that out. I like to keep to processes, so I feel that I'm already making an exception for the other two PINs. So whatever you could do to expedite it and just allow ample time for DPP to review it, I would appreciate it.
Mahalo.
Okay, moving on to agenda item number 5 for action, resolution 25-86. This resolution initiates amendments to the revised charter of the City and County of Honolulu, 1973, amended 2017 edition as amended pursuant to the Mayor's Executive Reorganization Authority relating to the Office of Housing, Department of Community Services, Department of Planning and Permitting, Department of Land Management, and Department of Budget and Fiscal Services. By Mayor's Message 44, 2025, the Mayor submitted a proposed CD1 version of Resolution 25-86. The proposed CD1 was posted on the agenda and is the same as the CD1 that was attached to Mayor's Message 44, 2025. Before I call up the administration, I would like to take public testimony. Proceeding first with in-person testimony in the council chamber. Clerks, do we have any in-person testifiers for this item?
Chair, there are none.
Is there anyone else in the council chamber who would like to testify on this item? Please come forward to the testifier podium and begin by stating your name. Seeing none, proceeding with remote testimony. Clerks, do we have any remote testifiers for this item?
Chair, there are none.
Moving to the administration, we have Kevin Auger, Executive Director of the Office of Housing.
Thank you, Chair. I don't see Kevin here, so I think we're okay with the resolution. Thank you. I'm
Okay.
here for any questions.
Well, it would be nice. This is an important resolution. It would be nice for someone to explain what the resolution does, not just for the members of this committee, but also for the general public. This is a high priority, I understand, for the administration in to give you the authority to be able to reorganize both the Mayor's Office of Housing with the Department of Land Management. That is a big deal, and we're pleased to be considering this resolution today, but it would be nice for someone to be here to be explaining to everybody what the intent is.
So real broadly, the intent is to reorganize and combine Office of Housing with the Department of Land Management and taking some functions from each under the Department of Housing and Land Management. And I can just speak for DPP's part. I believe some of our functions, the private activity bonds and GET functions, will move over towards to this department.
Members, do you have any questions? I would like to actually postpone this measure for further discussion at the end of the calendar. Am I allowed to do that? I do believe that it would benefit the council members. Council members, do you concur? I would like to move this measure to the ending of the calendar so that the administration can come. Clearly, we are all interested in this. It is one of their highest priorities. To not have either the head of the Office of Housing or the Director of Land Management here is concerning. So let's move forward. We're going to be moving on to agenda item number 6, Council Communication 90. The committee would take action on a draft committee report, making recommendations to the council on whether the ordinance and charter provision establishing the Oahu Historic Preservation Commission should be retained, amended, or repealed. Members, on February 3rd, 2025, we received a report from the Commission, which is numbered as Departmental Communication 85-2025. The report provides information on the Commission's accomplishments, challenges, transparency efforts, communication efforts, operating costs, and a recommendation that the Commission be retained without change. At the committee's meeting on March 6, 2025, we received a brief overview of the Commission's report from the Department of Planning and Permitting staff planner who assists the Commission. The Director of Planning and Permitting responded to questions from council members regarding the Commission, and Commissioner Mahealani Seifer provided insight on the Commission's efforts this past year. Council Communication 90-2025, which was posted on the agenda, attaches a draft committee report recommending that the Oahu Historic Preservation Commission be retained without change, amendment, or repeal, and that the committee report be scheduled for public hearing and be adopted by the Council as the Council's determination on the review and evaluation of the Commission. Before I call up the administration, I would like to take public testimony. Proceeding first with in-person testimony in the Council chamber. Clerks, do we have any in-person testifiers for this item?
Chair, there are none.
Is there anyone else in the Council chamber who would like to testify? Seeing none, proceeding with remote testimony. Clerks, do we have any remote testifiers for this item?
Chair, there are none.
For the administration, we have Don Takeuchi Apuna, Director of Planning and Permitting.
Thank you, Chair. We have no objections to the adoption of this report, but we're here for any questions. Thank you.
Members, are there any questions or discussion before I make my recommendation? The chair recommends that the committee report transmitted as Council Communication 90-2025 be reported out for scheduling of a public hearing and adoption. Any discussion, any objections or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Moving to agenda item number 7. For action, Resolution 25-93. This resolution amends Resolution 22-61, CD1, as amended by minor modification 2024 MLD 50 to extend the deadline to obtain a development permit for a single-family dwelling, detached garage, gym, swimming pool, and other improvements in Kahala. Members, we have posted on the agenda a proposed CD1 version of the resolution, which I submitted. For your information, a summary of the amendments is listed on the agenda. On May 4th, 2022, the Council adopted Resolution 22-61 CD1, which approved a special management area permit proposed by 4439 Kahala LLC to allow for the development of 2 single-family dwellings and a detached garage on an approximately 35,428 square foot shoreline lot, zone R7.5 residential district, located at 4439 Kahala Avenue in Kahala and identified as tax map key 35003-007. Condition G of this resolution required that a development permit for the project be obtained by May 3rd, 2024. As allowed under the condition, the Director of Planning and Permitting subsequently approved a 1-year extension of the deadline, resulting in a new deadline of May 3rd, 2025. On October 29, 2024, the Director approved minor modification 2024 MLD 50, which modified the project and revised certain conditions of approval. The applicant now seeks a 2-year extension of the deadline to obtain a development permit for the project and is requesting a new deadline of May 3rd, 2027. The Director's report indicates that the 2-year extension of the deadline is reasonable due to a change in ownership of the project site, the resulting project revisions to address the needs of the current owner, project revisions to increase the resiliency of the dwelling to coastal hazards, and the required preparation for an archaeological monitoring plan. The Director's report also indicates that the applicant has demonstrated progress in moving forward with the project and has informed the Department of changes in project status. Joining us in the Council chamber is Barbara Natale of Group 70, the applicant's agent, who will be providing a brief presentation of not more than 5 minutes. For your information, the presentation is available online as Miscellaneous Communication 210-2025.
Good morning, Chair Kiaʻāina and members of the committee. My name is Barbara Natal. I am a Senior Associate Planner for G70. On behalf of our client, ALJ Kahala LLC, we respectfully request an extension for time to submit a development permit for this 4439 Kahala Avenue single-family residence. This is in addition to the previously approved extension to May 3rd, 2025. Okay. I do apologize for putting a presentation up. Thank you. Appreciate it. Let's see. I'm sorry, I don't know how to use this. Okay. The property is located here on Kahala Avenue near Elepaio Street intersection. The 35,424, oh my goodness, square foot parcel, approximately 3/4 of an acre, is completely within the special management area. There is a vacant lot next door with a large home on the other side. Our client is proposing a single family home. Just to reiterate the information that Chair Kiaʻāina gave as far as key highlights on the SMA process for the property and the reason why we're asking for
Kiaʻāina, I'm sorry. Kiaʻāina is actually a different meaning.
I do apologize. I'm a little bit nervous. Excuse me, Chair Kiaʻāina. In May 2022, the 2021 SMA 77 was approved under the previous owner named 4439 Kahala LLC. As stated, Condition G of the SMA use permit stated that a development permit must be obtained within 2 years after the effective date of approval, which would have been May 3rd, 2024. Construction plans were submitted to DPP in June 2022 and accepted in March 2023. We understand that the project is still currently under plan review. An archaeological assessment for the project was submitted to SHPD in July 2021 and accepted in March 2024. An archaeological monitoring plan submitted to SHPD on January 16, 2025, and concurrence for the archaeological monitoring plan is still pending. On August 15th, 2023, there was a change in ownership with our current client, ALJ Kahala LLC. A 1-year time extension was requested and approved, moving the new submittal date to May 3rd, 2025. And I'll move on. There's a new home design was submitted and approved for the SMA minor modification on October 2024. I'll have further details about that home shortly. And while the client's intent was to submit construction plans shortly thereafter, a serious family illness caused a delay. With approval of construction plans typically more than 6 months from submittal, obtaining a development permit by the 1-year extension date of May 3rd, 2025 was and is not possible. Currently, the situation has stabilized and the client is moving forward with meeting builders and other specialists. Therefore, due to the original prolonged city building permit review, prolonged SHPD archaeological studies review, the change in ownership, as well as the redesign to meet current regulations, the owners are respectfully requesting this second extension. This slide shows the site plan for the previously approved 2021 design. You'll see Kahala Avenue to the right and the ocean to the left. The design was located 61 feet from the certified shoreline setback at a time when the setback was 40 feet with the waiver line at 55 feet. This is a single-family, single-story home with a guest cottage and 3-car garage. This is the current design, and this design is in your packet. You'll notice that the orientation of the site plan is reversed to the previous with Kahala Avenue to the left and the ocean to the right. The revised plan is also for a single-story, single-family dwelling with a detached garage, gym, and swimming pool. The new design addresses the 2023 regulatory changes under ordinances 23-3 and 23-4 by moving the dwelling farther, Mauka, to 81 feet instead of 61 feet from the previous design from the certified shoreline. This plan follows a 60-foot regulatory shoreline setback with a 75-foot waiver line. In addition to this horizontal retreat, the revised plan also includes resiliency and adaptation elements into the home design, such as elevating the building pad by an additional 1.5 feet above existing grade and installing deep foundation elements to support the Makai portion of the residence. This last slide shows a comparison of the prior 2022 home location in pink on the left and compared to the 2024 home location with the additional setback in blue on the right. And then the bottom picture shows the overlay of how the new home will be located an additional 20 feet further inland from the previously approved residence. Thank you again to DPP and council members for your consideration of this SMA time extension.
Thank you so much. Members, are there any questions for the applicant's agent? Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, thank you very much for your presentation. Were you with us back in 2022 as well?
I was.
And for the LLC, I was wondering, what was the LLC for this? Who's the applicant for this?
The original applicant was 4439
Yes.
Kahala LLC, and now it's ALJ Kahala LLC.
ALJ Kahala LLC.
Yes.
Okay, and so what is the purpose of the home again? Is it for a family or?
Yes, it is for a family. John and Adie McAvoy are the represent.
Oh, no, sorry, I couldn't hear you, but can you repeat that again, please?
Sure, I do apologize. John and Adie McAvoy represent ALJ Kahala LLC. It would be a single-family home for their family.
Okay, and I do recall what it looked like back in 2022, and I was, because I especially remember the length of the property and how much it's went towards the ocean, and it was a lot smaller at the driveway, so that's why I can definitely remember this. And I was wondering, so if it's a single-family home, but then there's the new residence, right? And then the new residence in the area, and then the guest cottage. So which part is the new addition onto the lot?
It is a complete home redesign, so not necessarily just an addition. It's fairly the same layout as far as the larger home and then the gym on the other side of the property.
Okay, and I was wondering why it is an LLC as opposed to just a single family applicant that is applying for this.
That is a good question. I do believe that John is with another company, Nippon Set. I don't remember the name of it, so I believe this is just one of the projects that he has, but he owns several properties.
Several properties on Oahu.
No, I believe this is his first property on Oahu.
Oh, okay, so he uses his LLC to purchase property.
Yes, that's my understanding.
Okay. And is this going to be a long-term, but like more than 6 months stay on Oahu?
Yes, they do have a property back east, but my understanding is that they are planning on moving here
Thank
for
you.
the duration.
Thank you. I'm okay with the setback that they have here, but I have further questions for the department afterwards.
Thank you. Thank you. Before I call up the administration, I would like to take public testimony. Proceeding first with in-person testimony in the council chamber. Clerks, do we have any in-person testifiers for this item?
Chair, there are none.
Is there anyone else in the council chamber who would like to testify? Seeing none, proceeding with remote testimony. Do we have any remote testifiers for this item?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. For the administration, we have Don Takeuchi Apuna, Director of Planning and Permitting.
Thank you, Chair. We have no objections to the proposed CD1, but we're here for any questions. Thanks.
Members, are there any questions for the director? Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you. I know that it does not directly pertain to the actual project and the request of the project, but I do want to ask about the application of an LLC and the implications on real property tax, utilizing an LLC for this type of a project.
I would defer to real property. I believe it's just based on the use, the use rather than the entity that is the owner of the property. So,
I see. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
Member, any other questions or discussion before I make my recommendation? The chair recommends, therefore, that Resolution 25-93 be amended to the posted CD1. Any discussion, any objections or reservations? Hearing none. The resolution has been amended to a CD1. The chair then recommends that Resolution 25-93 be reported out for adoption. Any discussion, any objections or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Moving to agenda item number 8 for action. Resolution 25-80, this resolution grants an after-the-fact special management area major permit to Kimberly M. and Timothy D. Smythe to allow for the retention of a previously constructed new two-story single-unit dwelling with an attached two-car garage, in-ground swimming pool, pool cabana, pond with waterfall, parking area to accommodate 5 off-street parking spaces and paved driveway, removal of invasive koa haole vegetation, and planting native plant species on the hillside slope, and connection to existing water, wastewater, and electrical lines on approximately 39,857 square feet of land zone R10 residential district located at 275 Ka'elepulu Drive in Lanikai and identified as tax map key 4307007. Members, we have posted on the agenda a proposed CD1 version of the resolution which I submitted. For your information, a summary of the amendment is listed on the agenda. I would like to propose 2 verbal amendments for the proposed CD1 version of this resolution. First, in condition F, delete the second sentence that reads, prior to the issuance of a building permit for the project, the applicant shall pay to the city the full amount of all accrued and outstanding civil fines to date relating to the project. Second, delete the be it further resolved clause, which would have provided that no action may be prosecuted or maintained against the city, its officials, or its employees on account of the actions taken by them in reviewing or approving the SMA major permit. By way of background, the project site was first developed with a dwelling in the 1970s. In 2018, a building permit was issued for alterations to the dwelling. In 2021, a notice of violation and stop work order were issued because portions of the previous dwelling had been demolished without a demolition permit, and construction of the replacement dwelling did not conform to the 2018 building permit plans. In 2022, a notice of order was issued because the applicant did not comply with the stop work order. Ongoing construction did not follow the 2018 building permit plans, and some of the work was not covered by the building permit. Accrued civil fines total approximately $215,000. In July 2022, the applicant submitted a building permit application to reflect the actual development on the project site. The building permit application is under review pending approval of the project's special management area major permit, and both are after-the-fact approvals to cure the project's past violations. The applicant is working with the State Department of Land and Natural Resources to grant to the state an approximately 20-foot wide easement along the southern portion of the slope that the applicant owns to allow for the proposed improvements to the Kiaʻāina Ridge Trail, which is the subject of another special management area permit under Resolution 25-78. A literature review and field investigation was conducted for the project site, and although several historical sites and iwi kupuna have been encountered in the Lanikai area, none were found on the project site, which is located on a cliff line with little to no soil. And since previous construction disturbed most of the ground surface, it is unlikely that any historic or cultural resources remain on the project site. The State Historic Preservation Division reviewed the archaeological inventory survey prepared for the adjacent Kiaʻāina Ridge Trail Improvements Project and issued a letter concurring that no historic properties will be affected by the project and no further historic preservation documentation is needed. Joining us in the council chamber is Carl Mensch from Concept 2 Completion Builders, the applicant's agent, who will be providing a brief presentation of not more than 5 minutes. For your information, the presentation is available online as Miscellaneous Communication 202-2025. Please proceed.
Good morning, my name is Carl Mensch. I'll be presenting for this project. I'm the agent on behalf of the owners, Tim and Kimberly Smythe. The project is located at 275 Ka'elepulu Drive in Lanikai, which is adjacent to the Kiaʻāina Ridge Trail and across the street from Mid-Pac Golf Course. Could you help me with this? proposed, the proposal and site information, project history, landowners' participation with DLNR over the easement realignment and additional land for their trail improvement purposes, and our consistency with HRS 205A and ROH Chapter 25. Brief overview of the proposal and project site is it is going to be a single-family dwelling with attached garage, swimming pool, and pool cabana. We are located in an R10 residential zoning. We're approximately a half-mile away from the shoreline. The lowest portion of a lot on a hillside lot is 100 feet above sea level. Our lot size is just under 40,000 square feet, and it has been in use as a single-family dwelling since 1970. Here's a small map just showing the location of it up on the hillside. Next slide. Here's a site map showing the layout of the property. You can see the old trail, sorry, not the old trail, the old easement going through the left side of the property. Here it is in relation to the DLNR's presentation on their site improvements for their trail. Next slide, please. We do have a complicated permit history on the project. We did obtain a building permit in 2018. Got started on construction, retaining wall, and earthworks began under that permit. We did begin our selective demolition of the dwelling in 2021. We did encounter some site features that we wanted to incorporate into the house, so we did modify the plans to do that. We submitted our application in December of 2021 for those changes. A month prior, we were issued a notice of violation. We sat in pre-screening. This was during COVID and DPP's transition to E-plans, so we sat in their pre-screening for 2 years. We were not able to get any progress on that until December 2023. We finally moved into review at that time. We had addressed all comments and were set for approval. And then we were informed in roughly June of 24 that we would need to do an SMA major because the definitions of the SMA had changed in 2023. Next slide, please. The landowner has been participating and engaged with DLNR since 2018 to address a realignment of the World War II easement. The easement has not been in use since the World War II. The realignment and additional gift of land would help DLNR with their Kiaʻāina Ridge Trail improvements to address major erosion and runoff into Lanikai Bay. Both owners continue to participate with DLNR. They have a preferred action, which would be the only action that really alleviates the erosion control. The owners are working with them to give them additional land to make that proposed preferred action possible. Next slide, please. We are consistent with all aspects of HRS 205A and ROH Chapter 25. It is a non-shoreline lot. We have no impact on the objectives, policies, guidelines established in those sections. We are compliant with all zoning and land use policies. We do not seek any variances for this project. Here's a map of all of our compliance with the land use ordinance. I think for time I'll just leave that there. And that concludes the presentation.
Thank you so much. Members, are there any questions for the applicant? If there are no questions, before I call up the administration, I would like to take public testimony. Proceeding first with in-person testimony in the council chamber. Clerks, do we have any in-person testifiers for this item?
Chair, there are none.
Is there anyone else in the chamber who would like to testify on this item? Please come forward to the podium and begin by stating your name. If seeing none, proceeding with remote testimony. Sir, you can sit down now. Okay, thank you so much. Proceeding with remote testimony, do we have any remote testifiers?
Chair, there are none.
For the administration, we have Don Takeuchi Apuna, Director of Planning and Permitting.
Thank you, Chair. We have no objections to the proposed CD1, and we're here for any questions. Thanks.
Members, are there any questions for the director? Seeing no questions or no further discussion, the chair therefore recommends that Resolution 25-80 be amended to the posted CD1 as further amended as we discuss to, first, in condition F, delete the second sentence that reads, prior to the issuance of a building permit for the project, the applicant shall pay to the city the full amount of all accrued outstanding civil fines to the date relating to the project. And second, delete the be it further resolved clause, which would have provided that no action may be prosecuted or maintained against the city, its officials, or its employees on account of the actions taken by them in reviewing or approving the SMA major permit. Any discussion, any objections or reservations? Hearing none, the resolution has been amended to a CD1. The chair then recommends that Resolution 25-80 CD1 be reported out for adoption. Any discussion, any objections or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Moving to agenda item number 9 for action, Resolution 25-68. This resolution grants a special management area major permit to Donna and Jude Baker to allow for the construction of a new 2-story single-unit detached dwelling with an elevated jacuzzi, rooftop photovoltaic solar system, and courtyard area with circular driveway and 6 vehicle parking spaces, posting an existing mobile single-unit dwelling with an attic and 2 uncovered parking spaces, installation of an individual wastewater system, construction of perimeter fencing and gates, and landscaping improvements on approximately 31,385 square foot shoreline lot zone R5 residential district located at 59205 Kainui Road in Pupukea, Paumalu, and identified as tax map key 59002-059. Members, it has come to my attention that the agent for the applicant did not inform the applicant about the status and disposition of their special management area major permit, and the applicants are not prepared to move forward at this time. I will be recommending that we postpone action on this resolution and grant the applicant a 90-day extension of the deadline for council action on the resolution, subject to a written request from the applicant. This would give the applicants time to review the Department of Planning and Permitting's report and obtain more information on their special management area major permit. I would like to now take public testimony, proceeding first with in-person testimony in the council chamber. Clerks, do we have any in-person testifiers for this item?
Chair, there are none.
Is there anyone else in the council chamber who would like to testify on this item? Seeing none. Proceeding with remote testimony. Clerks, do we have any remote testifiers for this item?
Chair, there are none.
Members, if there are no questions or discussion, I would recommend that action on Resolution 25-68 be postponed to a date and time to be determined by the committee chair. Any discussion, any objections or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. The chair notes that the time needed to consider Resolution 25-68 may exceed the current deadline for council action. The chair therefore recommends that the resolution be granted a 90-day extension of time, subject to a written request from the applicant. Any discussion, any objections or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Moving to agenda item number 10, Resolution 25-98. This resolution grants a special management area major permit to Highmark Capital LLC to allow for the demolition of an existing single-unit dwelling and shed and the construction of a new 2-story single-unit dwelling, detached garage, in-ground swimming pool, pool lounge, pool cabana, pool equipment pad, concrete masonry unit walls, and rolling gate on an approximately 26,085 square foot shoreline lot, zone R10 residential district, located at 12 Kailua Road in Kailua, and identified as tax map key 43012-001. Members, we have posted on the agenda a proposed CD1 version of the resolution, which I submitted. For your information, a summary of the amendments is listed on the agenda. I would like to propose 2 verbal amendments for the proposed CD1 version of this resolution. First, amend condition B1 to read, the applicant shall submit to the Department of Planning and Permitting a copy of the State Historic Preservation Commission's acceptance letter for the project's archaeological inventory survey. Second, delete the be it further resolved clause, which would have provided that no action may be prosecuted or maintained against the city, its officials, or its employees on account of the actions taken by them in reviewing or approving the SMA major permit. The applicant prepared an archaeological inventory survey for the project site and submitted the survey to the State Historic Preservation Division. Upon review of the archaeological inventory survey, the State Historic Preservation Division required the applicant to prepare and implement an archaeological monitoring plan. The proposed CD1 includes this requirement under Condition B. The proposed CD1 also includes as Condition I, standard conditions to minimize the spread of invasive pathogens, pests, or plants by observing recommendations and protocols of the Oahu Invasive Species Committee. The Department of Planning and Permitting recommended these invasive species conditions in its report, but the condition was inadvertently omitted in the as-introduced resolution. Joining us in the council chamber is Carl Mensch from Concept 2 Completion Builders, the applicant's agent, who will be providing a brief presentation of not more than 5 minutes. For your information, the presentation is available online as Miscellaneous Communication 203-2025.
Good morning, my name is Carl Mensch. I'll be presenting for the owners of this project. I'm their agent. The owner is Highmark Capital or Scott LaRue. The project is located at 12 Kailua Road, which is adjacent to Kailua Beach Park on the Kaneohe side. The proposal is for a single-family dwelling, a two-story single-family dwelling with detached garage, swimming pool, pool lounge, pool cabana, equipment pads. There will be concrete masonry unit construction and a rolling auto gate to close off the project. Project includes demolition of existing single-family dwelling and shed. Construction will be slab on grade. We do not propose importing any fill, and we'll be connecting to municipal sewer system. We are compliant with all aspects of the LUO. We are located in an R10 zoning, so just under 30,000 square foot lot. We seek no variances. It's a few site maps and location maps for your reference. The project is consistent with all requirements of HRS 205A and ROH Chapter 25. We're compliant with all recreational resources, historic and cultural resources, scenic and open space resources, coastal ecosystems, economic uses, coastal hazards, managing development and participation through these meetings, beach and coastal dune protection, marine and coastal resources, cumulative impact on significant effect and compelling public interest, and consistent with all plans or regulations of the LUO. Thank you.
I'm sorry. Thank you. Members, are there any questions for the applicant? Before I call up the administration, I would like to take public testimony, proceeding first with in-person testimony in the council chamber. Clerks, do we have any in-person testifiers for this item?
Chair, there are none.
Is there anyone else in the chamber who would like to testify? Seeing none, proceeding with remote testimony. Clerks, do we have any remote testifiers for this item?
Chair, there are none.
For the administration?
Good morning, Chair Kiaʻāina and committee members. I'm Elizabeth Krieger. We support the CD1 as further verbally amended and are available for any questions.
Members, are there any questions? Thank you. The chair recommends that Resolution 25-95 be amended to the posted CD1 as further amended as we discussed, to amend Condition B1 to read, the applicant shall submit to the Department of Planning and Permitting a copy of the State Historic Preservation Commission's acceptance letter for the project's archaeological inventory survey, and second, delete the be it further resolved clause, which would have provided that no action may be prosecuted or maintained against the city, its officials, or employees on account of the actions taken by them in reviewing or approving the SMA major permit. Any discussions? Any objections or reservations? Hearing none, the resolution has been amended to a CD1. The chair then recommends that Resolution 25-95, CD1, be reported out for adoption. Any discussion, any objections or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Before we move on to agenda item number 11, I normally don't do this, but I need to say something about the agent for the previous two items. I want to thank you for advocating for your client and your applicants. And for anyone who's listening, if you are applying for an SMA, I ask that you do your due diligence and hire agents who are going to advocate for you and not just take your money and do a disservice to you, because it is wasting our time and the Department of Planning and Permitting when people are not advocating for their clients, and we have to keep on providing extensions. We hear from the department on how you and your clients have been working with them, and I just wanted to thank you for that, because I've just been noticing that that is not happening. And for anybody in the future who's coming before this body, I highly recommend that you provide your presentation well in advance of this hearing so that you could share it with the members prior to that, because as you can see from today's agenda, it's very long. And I normally provide a summary, so what you should do is be brief in your presentation, but again, make sure that you inform them fully before they come to this hearing so that everything could go smoothly. So thank you so much. Moving on to agenda item number 11 for action, Resolution 25-24. This resolution grants a special management area major permit to Western Community Crossroads, LC, to allow for the demolition of 3 existing dwellings and the construction of 2 new-story single-unit dwellings with attached 2-car garages, replacement of the existing sewer connection with 2 new sewer line connections, repair of the existing fence along the north and south property lines, and installation of new grass block pavers on the existing driveway on approximately 26,462 square foot shoreline lot, Zone R5 Residential District, located 55-337 Kamehameha Highway in Laie, and identified as tax map key 55002-032. Members, we have posted on the agenda a proposed CD1 version of the resolution, which I submitted. For your information, a summary of the amendments is listed on the agenda. I would like to propose 3 verbal amendments for the proposed CD1 version of the resolution. First, in condition A1B relating to option 2 for relocating the dwellings, correct a typographical error to refer to an annual coastal erosion rate of 1.01 feet instead of 1.1 feet. Second, in condition D2 relating to an archaeological inventory survey, amend the first sentence to read, prior to commencing any ground disturbing or construction activity for the project, the applicant shall submit to the Department of Planning and Permitting a copy of the State Historic Preservation Commission's acceptance letter for the project's archaeological inventory survey. Third, delete the be it further resolved clause, which would have provided that no action may be prosecuted or maintained against the city, its officials, or its employees on account of the actions taken by them in reviewing or approving the SMA major permit. With 3.2 feet of sea level rise by the year 2100, more than half of the project site is anticipated to be located within the sea level rise exposure area, including almost the entire footprint of the project's 2 dwellings. With an annual historical erosion rate of 1.01 feet, this area is anticipated to be lost to erosion during the life of the dwellings, which may result in the loss of sand and soil under the dwellings and potential failure of the project's proposed slab-on-grade foundations. If the anticipated erosion occurs, the dwellings will also be located within the beach transit corridor of the State Land Use Conservation District, impeding lateral beach access. The applicant has the opportunity to relocate the 2 dwellings farther mauka on the project site, where there is less risk for coastal hazards. The north dwelling is 67 feet from the regulatory shoreline, and the south dwelling is 60 feet from the regulatory shoreline, but the project site is 330 feet deep from the Mauka property line to the regulatory shoreline, So there is an expansive lawn area and driveway located on the most stable portion of the project site. The DPP recommended and the two proposed CD1 requires that the project be redesigned with the following two options. First, if the project's building permit is issued by June 30th, 2025, all structures, including the two proposed dwellings, must be relocated entirely Mauka of the 3.2-foot sea level rise coastal erosion line. Or second, notwithstanding whether the project's building permit is issued by June 30th, 2025 or after July 1st, 2025, all structures, including the two proposed dwellings, must be relocated Mauka of the 130-foot shoreline setback required under ROH Chapter 26, effective as of July 1st, 2024, or Mauka of the shoreline setback area based on an alternative annual coastal erosion rate for the project site, approved by the DPP director pursuant to the city's rules relating to shoreline setbacks in the special management area. The applicant indicated that it disagrees with the annual coastal erosion rate of 1.01 feet for the project site, which affects the calculation of the shoreline setback area under option 2. The applicant may seek a decreased shoreline setback area by submitting an alternative annual coastline erosion rate for the project site to the Department of Planning and Permitting for review. If approved by the Director of Planning and Permitting, the shoreline setback area under option 2 may be adjusted accordingly. The proposed CD1 also includes the Department of Planning and Permitting's recommendation that the project's foundation be revised to use post and pier or micropiles instead of slab on grade. Finally, note that a majority of the project site consists of Jacques sands, which is a type of soil known to contain archaeological sites and remains, and known burials have been encountered on the adjacent zoning lot to the north of the project site. The proposed CD1 requires that the applicant conduct an archaeological inventory survey with subsurface testing, which must be submitted to the State Historic Preservation Division for review and approval. If after reviewing the archaeological inventory survey, the State Historic Preservation Division requires or recommends the preparation of archaeological monitoring plan, the applicant will be required to prepare and implement an archaeological monitoring plan. Joining us in the council chamber is the applicant, Steve Turley, who will be providing a brief presentation of not more than 5 minutes. For your information, the presentation is available online as Miscellaneous Communication 211-2025. Welcome.
Chair Kiaʻāina, thank you for your time. Other council members, appreciate the time you've taken to meet with me and discuss this project. So in order to be brief, I'll just, for the public's good, explain this project lies on the windward side of the North Shore. It is in Laie, adjacent to the BYU Hawaii and across the street from the Polynesian Cultural Center, located on that coastal lot in the southeast area. Presently, there's 3 homes, somewhat dated. The coast has a beach rock shelf that provides protection along with the revetment known as Bathtub Beach. We have our hope is to put these 2 single-family homes on the property. Eventually, to add 2 additional 2-family units closer to the highway. With the new setback as a condition on this project, the houses will be located further Mauka. Thank you for your time.
Members, are there any questions for the applicant? Councilmember Wire.
Thank you, Chair. And while Mr. Turley for the presentation, I know we haven't talked in a while. So I was just curious, and this is more just for information. When I look at so this photo, this final photo you have, that would be the final design under the committee draft?
Final design under this SMA major permit.
Okay. So you shifted the direction of the homes, made them perpendicular, I guess, for lack of a better word, or?
The homes, that Mackay side of the homes is at that 3.2
Yeah.
erosion line, and so the houses are more compressed and they're not big enough to actually alter at 90 degrees. So we've just expanded the footprint to the north and to the south, but brought it further to the highway.
So at some point, you still anticipate adding units on the Malka side?
Yeah, it was just very, very important for the community to maintain as much housing as possible, and so our effort in this SMA permit application is to do those 2 units, and then when time allows, to add those 2 additional two-family units closer to the highway.
Okay, so I'm assuming this final photo is the one that complies with the CD1.
Correct.
Okay, appreciate your work and Chair's work on this project.
Thank you.
Yeah, mahalo.
Thank you. Do you have a question? Councilmember Okimoto.
Thank you, Chair. Aloha, good morning. And Vice Chair Wire might have asked that. I'm just trying to clarify because there's different diagrams here. So right now on the property, there's 2 homes? Or I see 2 and then there's 4 currently on the property.
Yes,
Is this
Councilor
one?
Okimoto.
This one, okay. So are
This
those
is what is currently on the site.
currently? There's 3 homes there, or,
Correct.
okay, and we're moving them more Malka and you're turning them into 2 homes?
That's correct. And I'm sorry, as the pace of this moved forward, we had to create some pretty quick concept plans. So I thought that was pretty good.
What was this one then? This one is?
Oh, that is the fully developed site. What we anticipate doing the units that are
In the
towards the beach. Sorry.
In the future, or?
Correct.
But they look, if I'm looking at it, the homes look different here. Is it?
They are. These
Okay.
units here are in compliance with this SMA permit, the
Okay.
conditions in this SMA permit.
So the goal is to go from this that we're hopefully approving to eventually this? Is that, no?
No, and I'm sorry.
Okay. Forgive me for not
we worked
understanding
really-
the order of the drawings or the,
Councilmember Okamoto, those 2 units that you see there
correct.
are what have been applied for
Correct.
in this. And then eventually, the hope is to put those two-family dwellings towards the highway, like that.
Like
but
this.
modifying the 2 Mackay units to look more like this.
That's the eventual goal after this.
Correct.
Okay. And it's for the same families that are currently
it's for
in the.
us. Uh-huh.
Oh, okay, sorry. Well, thank you. Thank you for clarifying. They look different. I appreciate you moving back towards the road. I am somewhat familiar with this area and the homes there, so thank you for doing that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Before I call up the administration, I would like to take public testimony. Proceeding first with in-person testimony in the council chamber. Clerks, do we have any in-person testifiers for this item?
Chair, there are none.
Is there anyone else in the chamber who would like to testify on this item? Seeing none, we will proceed with remote testimony. Clerks, do we have any remote testifiers for this item?
Chair, there are none.
For the administration, we have Don Takeuchi Apuna, Director of Planning and Permitting.
Apologies, Chair, it's me again. Elizabeth Krieger for the department. Good morning again. We support the CD1 as further verbally amended. We appreciate the applicant's continued efforts to find a resolution, and we're available to discuss any of the procedural questions related to the sort of future goals for the site. Thank you.
Members, are there any questions for the director? Councilmember Wire.
Mahalo, Chair. And just a couple questions. Just wanted to ask, I believe on June 13, 2024, there was presentation to the neighborhood board and they didn't take a position on the project. Is that your understanding as well?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, no, I appreciate that. And then on the September 6, 2024 public hearing, it didn't look like there's any additional or any opposition testimony. It just noted 3 support, 8 people showed up. So I was just curious, but I'm assuming that if there's opposition, it would have been noted in the report.
There was no opposition.
Okay, appreciate that, mahalo. Thank you, Chair.
Members, do you have any other questions or discussion before I make my recommendation? The chair recommends that Resolution 25-24 be amended to the posted CD1 as further amended as we discuss to first in condition A1B relating to option 2 for relocating the dwellings, correct a typographical error to refer to an annual coastal erosion rate of 1.01 feet instead of 1.1 feet. Second, in condition 2, relating to an archaeological inventory survey, amend the first sentence to read, prior to commencing any ground disturbing or construction activity for the project, the applicant shall submit to the Department of Planning and Permitting copies of the State Historic Preservation Commission's acceptance letter for the project's archaeological inventory survey. Third, delete the be it further resolved clause, which would have provided that no action may be prosecuted or maintained against the city, its officials, or its employees on account of the actions taken by them in reviewing or approval of the SMA major permit. Any discussion? Any objections or reservations? I did want to just inform my colleagues that I apologize for all of the verbal amendments. I try not to do it. These are amendments that were recommended by the administration in concert with Corporation Counsel. We are going to endeavor to do a better job to have communications. It's very difficult because the amendments are due on a Friday and the hearing's on a Thursday, and we prepare for it. But we are going to figure out a system because it is a lot. Both the written amendments are a lot, and for me to be adding on verbal amendments is a lot. So I just want to let you know, moving forward, we're going to endeavor to do a better job in improving our lines of communications so that there's greater clarity. So hearing that there are no objections or reservations for the resolution, it has been amended to a CD1. The chair then recommends that Resolution 25-24 CD1 be reported out for adoption. Any discussion, any objections or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Moving to agenda item number 12. For action, Resolution 2591. The resolution grants a special management area major permit to HHV Beach Resort and Spa and Park Ala Moana LLC to allow for improvements to the Hilton Hawaiian Village Plan Development Resort Master Plan area, including the construction of a new 36 tower, that would be 8-story parking and 28-story hotel tower, with 515 hotel units, 6,051 square feet of retail space, fitness center and recreation deck, off-street loading and parking spaces, landscaped open space, pedestrian connections, water features, and sculpture garden, and appurtenant site improvements on approximately 0.64 acre portion of 30 zoning lots that comprise the Hilton Hawaiian Village Waikiki Beach Resort, zoned resort mixed-use precinct, and located at 1831, 1835, and 1841 Ala Moana Boulevard in Waikiki. Members, we have posted on the agenda a proposed CD1 version of the resolution, which I submitted. For your information, a summary of the amendments is listed on the agenda. I would like to propose 3 verbal amendments for the CD1 version of Resolution 25-91. First, in condition E, relating to archaeological, historic, and cultural resources that may be present on the project site, delete condition E1 and renumber the subsequent conditions in condition E. In renumbered condition E1, delete the last sentence that reads, the applicant shall submit a copy of the archaeological monitoring plan to the Department of Planning and Permitting. In renumbered condition E2, delete the last sentence that reads, the applicant shall submit a copy of the burial treatment plan to the Department of Planning and Permitting. Add a new condition E3 to read as follows. Prior to the issuance of any construction permit or building permit for the project, the applicant shall submit to the Department of Planning and Permitting copies of the State Historic Preservation Commission's acceptance letters for the project's archaeological monitoring plan and burial treatment plan, and any required mitigation protocols. Renumbers subsequent conditions in condition E. Second, In condition H, change the deadline to obtain a construction permit or building permit for the project to 60 months instead of 36 months. Third, delete the be it further resolved clause, which would have provided that no action may be prosecuted or maintained against the city, its officials, or its employees on account of the actions taken by them in reviewing or approving the SMA major permit. This special management major permit is being considered concurrently with Resolution 25-92, which is the next item on the agenda, and would approve the conceptual plan for a planned development resort to modify the Hilton Hawaiian Village's master plan area. The applicant is incorporating 3 newly acquired zoning lots into the Hilton's master plan area. The new tower is located on these 3 new parcels and on portions of 3 other parcels that are already included in the master plan area. Since the master plan area for a planned development resort is treated as 1 zoning lot for development purposes, the landowner acknowledgements in the resolution cover all 30 zoning lots in the master plan area. Other conditions of approval pertain primarily to the project site, such as the archaeological conditions, which relate to areas where there will be ground disturbing and construction activities. The project site includes 2 previously identified historic properties that are listed on the state inventory of historic places and include burial sites. The applicant prepared an archaeological literature review and field inspection in 2017, and the State Historic Preservation Division required the applicant to prepare an archaeological inventory survey. The applicant has completed this survey in 2024, which determined that there were 5 archaeological historic properties on the project site, 2 that were previously identified, and 3 new findings, which involved 2 findings of human skeletal remains and 1 finding of infrastructure remains. The survey concluded that an archaeological monitoring plan and burial treatment plan must be prepared and implemented during project construction. These requirements are included under Condition E in the proposed CD1. Joining us in the council chamber, we have representatives from the applicant, the applicant's legal counsel, and the applicant's agent. Before proceeding, can you please introduce yourselves and provide a brief presentation of not more than 5 minutes? For your information, the presentation is available online as miscellaneous communication 206-2025.
Hello, Mike Kako, Chair Kiaʻāina, Vice Chair Dos Santos Tam, and members of the committee. My name is Ivan Louis Kwan. I am legal counsel for Park Hotels and Resorts and the Hilton Hawaiian Village, and Park Hotels and Resorts is the owner of Hilton Hawaiian Village. My law partner on this project is Lindsay Orman. Our project team is really excited and proud of this project. This project has been in a planning stage for a number of years. Would like to express our deep mahalo nui to the city for the fairness and efficiency with which this project has been processed to date. Would like to thank particularly DPP, the mayor, and all of the city council, particularly the council member of the district, Chair Waters, and the zoning chair, Kiaʻāina. At this time, I'd like to introduce Parks leader for this project, Jonathan Fuse, who is a senior VP for investments at Park Hotels and Resorts. Jonathan?
Aloha, Chair Kiaʻāina, Vice Chair Dos Santos Tam, and members of the committee. My name is Jonathan Fuse, and as Ivan indicated, I'm the Senior Vice President of Investments for Park Hotels and Resorts, the owner of Hilton Hawaiian Village. Mahalo for the opportunity to share with you Park's Ala Moana Boulevard Tower project at Hilton Hawaiian Village. Our team has been developing plans for a number of years to make this project a reality. We're excited and proud of the project. When completed, the new hotel tower will showcase a positive Ewa gateway for Waikiki. It will provide needed capacity to provide aloha to our visitors. It will be an enhanced and thriving workspace for the 2,000 current Hilton Hawaiian Village team members, with an additional approximately 370 full-time equivalent jobs at the new tower and 123 secondary jobs created. The project will also generate additional high-quality construction jobs. We are looking forward with excitement to the sculpture garden and public festivals, which will complement the beauty and magic of Waikiki. Please allow me now to introduce two leaders of our project team, Norman Hong and Jeff Overden from G70, who will take you through a presentation on the tower, and mahalo for your time.
Council Chair Kiaʻāina, members of the Zoning Committee. My name is Norman Hong. I'm the chairman of G70 and also the principal architect for this project. I'm going to go over a very brief presentation to give you an overview of what the project involves, and then I will turn it over to Jeff Overton, who is our principal planner, to deal with, address the SMA issues. So with that, I'm going to go as quickly as possible. Okay, this is our project team consisting of the park folks. I won't go into too much detail here, but it's a significant team consisting of both the park team, the other consultants, our legal counsel, our artists, consultants, and so forth. Next. As you know, Hilton Hawaiian Village has been committed for many, many years to Waikiki and its health.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
We're considering both. I understand. Are you guys going to be going back and forth between the two?
Yes, that's our understanding, that there were going to be two parts to it.
Yeah, but they're agendized separately.
Yes.
So
I'm going
I
to give
would
it.
prefer that you stick to the SMA at hand because
Okay.
we are going to go into the,
Okay. Okay.
if you look at the agenda schedule.
Yes, okay. We thought a brief
I want to
overview.
make sure. You're going to
Okay.
be confusing people.
Okay.
So if you could, I would like for you to stick to the SMA because we still have to
All
go
right.
through the planned development resort separately.
Certainly, we'll do that. Jeff, I'll turn it over to Jeff Overton.
Thank you. Would you like me to walk through the project presentation and as part of the SMA application so that we brief the council members?
Okay, well, you heard my long explanation about the project. So, and I'm assuming that you have briefed everybody because this is a major project, right?
Absolutely.
So if you feel that you have briefed everybody and you gave them the presentation, if you could just abbreviate the SMA, because that is what we're going to be discussing right now.
I can do that. Good morning, Chair Kiaʻāina and members of the Council Zoning Committee. It's good to see you all. So to be concise, back in 2023, we completed a final supplemental environmental impact statement as part of the Special Management Area Use Permit process. And it's a very lengthy document with all the technical studies that were important. We went through a public scoping meeting as well as other agency consultations. We completed a number of very important studies: the archaeological inventory survey, a cultural impact assessment, a detailed traffic study, infrastructure and civil engineering, air and noise studies, as well as economic, pedestrian wind studies. We looked at trees and sidewalk assessment. The Department of Planning and Permitting accepted the final supplemental EIS in July of 2023. Next slide, please. So for the Special Management Area Use Permit components, again, Hilton Hawaiian Village is entirely located within the county designated SMA, and the project that you have been briefed on actually is very much in keeping with the SMA objectives, policies, and guidelines relating to coastal hazards and landforms, recreational resources, shoreline access. We spent a lot of time on historic and cultural resources in the SMA application and in our outreach. We deal very carefully with scenic and open space resources, consistency with the land use plans and the zoning, and of course drainage and waste disposal, an important part of the project, critical with protecting water resources and the nearshore water quality and the coastal ecosystems. That concludes my presentation on the SMA. Be glad to field any questions.
Thank you. Members, are there any questions for the applicant? Chair Waters, this is your district. Do you have any questions for the Okay, thank you so much. Before I call up the administration, I would like to take public testimony. Proceeding first with in-person testimony in the council chamber. Clerks, do we have any in-person testifiers for this item?
Chair, we have one standing by.
In person?
Yes.
When I call your name, please come forward to the testifier podium and begin by stating your name for the record. Please conclude your remarks promptly when you hear the buzz of the timer.
Good morning, Chair, members of the committee. My name is Rick Elliott from the Waikiki Improvement Association. We strongly support the granting of the SMA permit. Hilton has been a tremendous partner that we work with on all the environmental issues that affect Waikiki, and having them have jurisdiction over this property is going to be a big step forward. The property's been a difficult one in terms of dealing with a lot of some of the issues in the past. So having Hilton as a partner in addressing these issues going forward will be an asset to Waikiki. Thank you.
Members, do you have any questions for the testifier? Thank you so much. Is there anyone else in the council chamber who would like to testify on this item? Seeing none, we will proceed with remote testimony. Clerks, do we have any remote testifiers for this item?
Chair, we have Angela standing by.
Angela, please proceed.
Aloha, Angela Melody Young, testifying on behalf of CARES, agent in training with Abe Uli's class, which is also the owner of a national franchise here locally, the 21st Century Properties, and I'm in strong support as an agent in training because I'd like to support the Hilton Hawaiian Village, and actually my auntie used to work there, and also I don't want to cause unintentional distortion, so I'll just read what I found online. So this property is an oceanfront retreat in Honolulu, escape to a tropical hideaway on the widest stretch of a beach, 22 acres of paradise, and this is a fun hotel. It's internationally famous company helping to sustain economies in labor, employment, food, hospitality, and the tourism industries to help support Honolulu and the state of Hawaii's economic development. The Hawaiian Village is a kind of like, it's like an old property. It's one of the oldest in Waikiki. It's a little boring, but I'm happy it's getting a promotion with a new tower.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. Okay. Members, are there any questions for the testifier? Are there any other testifiers standing by remotely, clerks?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. For the Department of Planning and Permitting?
Good morning again, Chair and committee members. The department supports the CD1 as verbally amended. We support the project and we're available for any questions about the SMA aspect of it.
Members, are there any questions for the director? For the department? Or do you have any questions regarding this matter? If not, the chair recommends that Resolution 25-91 be amended to the posted CD1 first, in Condition E, relating to archaeological, historical, and cultural resources that may be present on the project site. Delete Condition E1 and renumber the subsequent conditions in Condition E. In renumbered Condition E1, delete the last sentence that reads, the applicant shall submit a copy of the archaeological monitoring plan to the Department of Planning and Permitting. In renumbered Condition E2, delete the last sentence that reads, the applicant shall submit a copy of the burial treatment plan to the Department of Planning and Permitting. Add a new Condition E3 to read as follows. Prior to the issuance of any construction permit or building permit for the project, the applicant shall submit to the Department of Planning and Permitting copies of the State Historic Preservation Commission's acceptance letters for the project's archaeological monitoring plan and burial treatment plan and any required mitigation protocols. Renumbers subsequent conditions in Condition E. Second, in Condition H, change the deadline to obtain a construction permit or building permit for the project to 60 months instead of 36 months. And third, delete the be it further resolved clause, which would have provided that no action may be prosecuted or maintained against the city, its officials, or employees on account of the actions taken by them in reviewing or approving the SMA major permit. Any discussion? Any objections or reservations? Hearing none, the resolution has been amended to a CD1. The chair then recommends that Resolution 25-91 CD1 be reported out for adoption. Any discussion? Any objection or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Moving to agenda item number 13 for action, Resolution 25-92. This resolution approves the conceptual plan for a planned development resort project to modify the boundaries of the Hilton Hawaiian Village Master Plan area to include 3 newly acquired parcels and allow for improvements to the master plan area, including the construction of a new 36-story tower, with 515 hotel units, 6,051 square feet of retail space, fitness center and recreation deck, off-street loading and parking spaces, landscaped open space, pedestrian connections, water features and sculpture garden, back-of-house facilities, and pertinent site improvements on an approximately 0.64 acre portion of 32 zoning lots that comprise the Hilton Hawaiian Village Waikiki Beach Resort, zoned resort mixed-use precinct, and located at 1831, 1835, and 1841 Ala Moana Boulevard in Waikiki. Members, we have posted on the agenda a proposed CD1 version of the resolution, which I submitted for your information. A summary of the amendments is listed on the agenda. I would like to propose 2 verbal amendments for the CD1 version. First, in condition A, delete the beginning phrase of the second sentence that reads, when processing the project's major special district permit application, so that the sentence reads, the Director of Planning and Permitting may approve minor or non-substantive deviations from the approved conceptual plan. Second, amend condition J to change the deadline to obtain a construction permit or building permit for the project to 60 months instead of 36 months. Approval of the Hilton's Plan Development Resort Conceptual Plan is being considered concurrently with Resolution 25-91 regarding the grant of a special management area major permit for the project, which was the previous item on the agenda. The Hilton's revised Plan Development Resort Master Plan area would include 3 newly acquired parcels and allow for certain improvements, the main improvement being the construction of a new hotel fronting Ala Moana Boulevard. The proposed CD1 will approve an increase in density from a floor area ratio of 3.7 to a floor area ratio of 4.0. The conceptual plan was submitted to the Design Advisory Committee for compliance with the Waikiki Special District Design Guidelines and to determine whether proposed public benefits are commensurate with the bonus density sought through the Plan Development Resort process. The committee determined that the project could be improved by enhancing ground level features to focus on pedestrian access and experience, improving circulation and access plans, and addressing non-compliance of certain facade treatments. The committee also found that generally, the public benefits were not commensurate with the bonus density sought and recommended 5 additional types of public benefits. The committee's recommendations have been incorporated in the proposed CD1. Generally, the proposed CD1 involves the following conditions of approval. In condition C, it requires the applicant to continue providing the public benefits required under Resolution 11-278 CD1, which approved the applicant's previous Plan Development Resort Master Plan, and includes sponsoring the Rocking Rainbow Hawaiian Review and Fireworks Show, maintaining the Duke Kahanamoku Lagoon, cleaning the Duke Kahanamoku Beach and the restrooms at the Duke Kahanamoku Beach Park, and maintaining Kahanamoku Street. In condition D, it requires the applicant to provide additional public benefits, including a sculpture garden, public festivals, a bike share station, a bicycle repair station, surfboard and bicycle storage racks, pedestrian access improvements, shade trees, seating areas, under shaded areas, maintaining existing and future bus stops fronting the project site, the bus and Beaky bicycle passes to Hilton employees or guests, and parking cash-out programs to Hilton employees. After the council approves the conceptual plan for a planned development resort, the applicant is required to submit to the Department of Planning and Permitting an application for a major Waikiki Special District Permit. Condition F requires the project's major special district permit application to include updated site plans showing improved pedestrian access, relocation of landscaping, a gently meandering pedestrian pathway along Ala Moana Boulevard, elimination of a curb cut to exit the Port Cochere, locations of short-term and long-term bicycle parking spaces, detailed calculations for yard setbacks, and the consistent use of pavement textures in building colors and building materials. Second, updated landscape plan showing the relocated landscape strip along Ala Moana Boulevard, additional shade trees, and additional shaded seating areas. Third, updated elevation drawing showing expanded application of the Ahupua'a metaphor, additional water expressive features, expanded use of green landscape walls, additional articulation and architectural features, and replacing inactive ground floor uses with active ground floor uses. Fourth, an exterior lighting plan. In condition G, requires the applicant to coordinate with the State of Hawaii Department of Transportation to first update the project's traffic impact analysis report to address vehicle trip distribution and generation assumptions, include a description of all existing and proposed uses of the service road, include a safety impact assessment, address impacts to the safety of pedestrians and bicyclists, and address conflict points among vehicles, pedestrians, and bicyclists. Second, comply with the requirement that no additional stormwater runoff is permitted to Ala Moana Boulevard, verify that all project driveways meet current standards, and require that the traffic impact analysis report study area include intersections along state highways in the vicinity of the project site where a change in peak hour traffic volume attributed to the project is greater than 3%. In condition H, it requires the applicant to coordinate with the Department of Planning and Permitting Traffic Review Branch to first submit an overall timeline, construction management plan, and traffic management plan that includes traffic demand management strategies, pedestrian circulation plan, parking management plan, shared parking analysis, bicycle plan, and vehicle circulation plan. Second, updates to the initial traffic impact analysis report that include the updates required by the Hawaii Department of Transportation, and analysis of the intersection of Rainbow Drive and Clea Road if there's an increase in the use of Rainbow Drive, and a discussion of valet operations. And third, submit plans that show the applicant's implementations of all recommendations in the project's initial and updated traffic impact analysis report and the traffic management plan, including all traffic damage management demand strategies. Approximately 1 year, lastly, approximately 1 year after the issuance of a certificate of occupancy for the project, requires the applicant to submit to the DPP for its review and approval a post-traffic management plan and post-traffic impact analysis report. These conditions of approval were recommended in the Department of Planning and Permitting's report and the comment letters submitted by various government agencies. Once again, joining us in the council chamber is Norman Hong and Jeff Overton from Group 70, the applicant's agent, who will be providing a brief presentation of not more than 5 minutes. For your information, the presentation is available online as miscellaneous communication 207-2025.
Okay, thank you, Kiaʻāina and council members. I'm going to make this really, really quickly. I had started by introducing the project team. I won't go over that again. Next, as we know, Hilton Hawaiian Village has been a very good contributor to the Waikiki, and they continue to do so in many, many ways, not only providing employment, but also other benefits to the community, which our Chair Kiaʻāina has more than adequately covered. Hilton is also very supports responsible tourism. As many of you know, the large majority of their visitors, their guests, are repeat guests. They honor, they respect Hawaii, and those are the kinds of visitors that we want. Next. The site is a very significant site. It's at what we call the Ewa Gateway of Waikiki. Currently, what you see there, next slide, is an outdated two-story commercial complex, a car rental facility, and the former Kobe Steakhouse, which has been closed for many, many years. And what you see on that slide before you is that there's virtually no landscaping along that strip. It's a discontinuous of landscaping. It's a gap between the Grand Waikikian landscaping and then the Kalia Gardens, which is further Mauka. In addition, because of the nature of those facilities, there are no off-site loading facilities, and so the service and delivery vehicles to these existing facilities park on the road, blocking one of the lanes of Ala Moana Boulevard, which creates a real problem In addition, sometimes cars are parked on the sidewalk, which affects a pedestrian movement. So in contrast to this, our proposal, next slide, please, is a significant improvement where we would have a new porte cochere as well as a new plaza fronting the new ABC flagship store that's going to be located on the ground floor. So, and with very significant landscaping. Next. Here's a close-up of the porte cochere, again to the hotel, which has significant landscaping, shade trees, so forth. Next. Building concept, we've done a lot of study and research in terms of what this project should mean in terms of a Hawaiian sense of place. And so we have used a metaphor of the Waikiki Ahupua'a that goes from the sky to the mountains, to the forest, and to the shoreline. And so what we see is a tower could be represented, would be a symbol of the sky. The 8-story podium would be the forest, and in the ground floor with landscaping and the water features would be at the shoreline. Next. What you see next is a rendering of what we are proposing. And so I call this, what I would like to call this a soft building, as opposed to many of the other structures in Waikiki. And so it would be a gently curving glass facade building that would be kind of blending in with the sky. That curve would follow Alamana Boulevard. And at the 8-story podium that is below that would be treated with a lot of landscaping, green walls, to soften it to be more like a forest. Next. Here's a quick site plan, and I'll just real quickly go through it. Starting from the left, what you see in pink is the ABC flagship store, fronted by a plaza with landscaping, so that the street activity can be activated in that area. The porte cochere driveway comes off of Alamana Boulevard into an arrival lobby. And then for self-parks as well as a valet parking, upon leaving the porte cochere, they will exit onto an interior connection to the existing service road, therefore, and thereby not introducing any more traffic onto Alamana Boulevard. One of the comments from DPP was to delete that exit driveway from a porte cochere directly, and we are certainly supportive of that. Next. Oh, one more point on this part. Our loading areas are totally internal and under the building, which is very significant. So that will delete what's happening now with delivery trucks parking on Alamana Boulevard. So that's going to be a very significant benefit to this project and to the community. Next. The second floor is where the actual check-in lobby will be. Next. And this is just a quick rendering of what that looks like. And then I'm going to jump up to the 8th floor of the podium level, which we call our recreational level. And it connects at the same level as the existing Kalia pool. We're going to connect to that pool. We're going to renovate completely that pool so it can accommodate both the guests of this hotel as well as the Kalia Tower. Next. These are a couple of renderings of what that pool would be like. Next. Now, next. Thank you. This is just a section of the project. We are looking at 350 feet, which is within the purview of the PDR. We are not asking for any height or transitional height setbacks. The FAR, as Chair Kiaʻāina mentioned, would be 4.0 for the overall campus. Next. Public benefits, as we know, is a very significant part of this project. We would highlight two initially. First would be a monthly cultural festival that would be hosted completely by Hilton Hawaiian Village, no cost to the vendors. It would highlight the artists, artisans, and other vendors that are promoting local products. There would be no charge for them. We would provide the pop-up tents and pavilions needed, and also for the musicians, as that rendering shows. Next. Another rendering of what that monthly festival would be like. Next. In addition to the monthly festival, we are also going to be commissioning and or acquiring significant art, primarily local artists, such as John Tokoga, whose sculpture you see there as an example. Next slide. Also, what's this? Hold on. Tim Garcia, I'm sorry, Tim Garcia from Maui, who really highlights the significant Hawaiian sculpture. So, but in addition to the local artists, we are looking also at commissioning or acquiring internationally known artwork. Next slide. And the reason for this is to highlight and be able to give the local artists their creations to be exhibited next to international artists. So therefore, kind of highlighting and giving them the opportunity to, so their artwork is elevated with the international. Okay, next. Okay, that concludes my part of this presentation. At this time, I'm going to let Jeff Overton talk about the PDR. Thank you.
Thank you, Norman. Jeff Overton, Principal Planner with G70, and I'll be brief. In the packet before you, and as I reiterated before, we went through a supplemental environmental impact statement that covered not only the SMA, but this planned development resort permit process. So all those studies that you see on there were completed, and the department approved the final supplemental EIS in July of 2023. Next slide. Next slide. So that's the SMA summary. Here's the PDR. So, planned development resort permit, and we're also dealing with the Waikiki Special District permit. It goes through quite a bit of the technical information that's needed to support the PDR, and emphasizes that we are in this resort mixed-use district, that we're fulfilling the commitments of the Hilton Hawaiian Village Master Plan that was approved back in 2011. We are meeting the allowable design development standards under this, and as well, as Norman had pointed out, the Waikiki Special District Design Guidelines for Hawaiian Sense of Place. Next slide. Norman highlighted several of the public benefits, as did the chair, regarding enhanced public access and landscape improvements, improved connectivity along a revitalized Ala Moana Boulevard. As you can see, this is a great project. This public art commitment with the sculpture garden, creating a dynamic streetscape and a community gathering place, and this monthly public festival. So this will continue to contribute towards Waikiki's organizations and initiatives, as well as our generation of short-term and long-term employment. Next slide. This is just an overview timetable of the process. As mentioned, we completed that EIS and outreach process in '23. We're now at the tail end of the planned development resort permit, along with the other permitting that we're hoping to conclude in 2025, moving ahead with design and permitting into 2026, and hopeful construction to follow on that. That's the conclusion of my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Members, any questions for the applicant? Chair Waters.
Thank you so much. Maybe either for Norman or Jonathan, one of the public benefits is a monthly public festival and no charge to the public and the vendors. Would you object to us putting that in section D, just so it's clear to the public that they know that they're not going to have to pay for this? And I appreciate the public festival.
Yes, Chair Waters. The only clarification I'd like to make is obviously it's free of, there's no admission charge to the public. We hope they'll buy things from the vendors who are there. So, but no objection to noting that it's free of charge to the public and the vendors who participate.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you, Chair.
Before I call up the administration, I would like to take public testimony if there are no further questions by the members. Proceeding first with in-person testimony in the council chamber. Clerks, do we have any in-person testifiers for this item?
Chair, we have one standing by.
Rick Agate.
Hello, Chair, members of the committee, chairs, and member of the committee. The Waikiki Improvement Association strongly supports this project. You know, the PDR process that was developed as a way to revitalize Waikiki, gosh, over 20 years ago now, this is the kind of project that was, particularly in mind when that process was created, to allow large areas like this to be developed in a planned fashion. And this particular lot, it's actually been something that I've hoped would happen for a long time. As has been mentioned many times, this is a gateway property to Waikiki, and yet has kind of stood underdeveloped or in need of redevelopment for decades. And so now it's finally happening. This is kind of a dream come true. It's one of the finishing touches to the revitalization of Waikiki, if you will. And so we're really happy to see this project move forward, and be happy to answer any questions. Hilton is a great partner in all of the different endeavors that we take part in Waikiki, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Members, are there any questions for the testifier? Thank you so much for being here today. Is there anyone else in the council chamber who would like to testify on this item?
Hi, good morning. My name is Paul Cosaso. I'm president and CEO of ABC Stores. I'm also the chair of the board of the Waikiki Business Improvement District Association. We strongly support this project, obviously, because we're going to be occupying at the ground floor. But we've been a partner with the Hilton Hawaiian Village for close to 40 years. From my father's time. They've been a great partner. And I can say that everything that the Hilton works on and does for our community is very positive. To support a local business like myself, a family business, which is kind of an endangered species nowadays here in Hawaii, is very wonderful. The property, Norman described our property, the one that's existing now, very aptly, that it's pretty ugly. And I think right now is a good time for us to revitalize that parcel and really showcase Waikiki the way it should be. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions? Is there anyone else in the chamber who would like to testify? Seeing none, we will proceed with remote testimony. Clerks, do we have any remote testifiers for this item?
Chair, there are none.
Members, I'm sorry, we'd have the Department of Planning and Permitting.
Good morning again, Chair and council members. We support the project. The DPP supports the project. We support the CD1 as verbally amended, and we further support Chair Waters' recommendation about specifying that community benefit is free to the public. And we're available for any questions you may have.
Members, any questions? Are there any, is there any discussion before I make my recommendation? Chair Waters.
Thank you so much, Chair. No, I just want to thank the whole project team. I've been meeting with them for years, actually. And as you mentioned earlier, that's what we want the project teams to do. Come and speak to the members. So I really appreciate that, especially Group 70, who's been knocking on my door quite a bit. So thank you guys. I did see Joan Bennett and others at the neighborhood board, so I appreciate that too. Waikiki Neighborhood Board is in my district, and I appreciate you folks coming out to the neighborhood board and presenting. Also, the area, I don't want to say it's dilapidated, but it's old, and it's going to be really nice to have a really cool spot as the gateway to Waikiki. The reason why I'm asking that you put in their chair that it's free, the only people I anticipate being somewhat upset is the people who live across the street, because their views may or may not be impacted. But I want to make clear that what they're getting in exchange is a free marketplace directly across the street. So if you don't mind a verbal amendment, especially since the applicant and DPP are not objecting.
And
So,
that would
thank you.
be, Chair, for clarification, that would be free to the public, but as I understand it, for the vendors there, are the
yes.
vendors who would the vendors' fee be free as well? Is that what I heard?
Yes, Chair Kiaʻāina, the vendors it'll be free of charge to them. There'll be no rent for the stalls or anything. They will have the opportunity to showcase their businesses and sell their products, so we hope that it's a profitable, profitable endeavor for them, but no charge.
Yes, and so any profit they make would be going back to them, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
I think it's subsection D, as in
Condition D.
Daniel. Thank you.
Okay, members, any other discussion? The chair recommends that Resolution 25-92 be amended to the posted CD1 as further amended as we discussed to first, in Condition A, delete the beginning phrase of the second sentence that reads, when processing the project's major special district permit application, so that the second sentence reads, the Director of Planning and Permitting may approve minor or non-substantive deviations from the approved conceptual plan. Second, amend Condition J to change the deadline to obtain a construction permit or building permit for the project to 60 months instead of 36 months. And third, for Condition D, as proposed by Chair Waters, to clarify that that it will be free to the public to be able to enjoy the festival, as well as the vendors who are going to be able to sell their wares at the festival. Correct?
Chair, did the...
Councilmember Okimoto.
Just to clarify, I think what I heard the developer say is free admission. Do we need to specify that? I think their concern was if we say free, then that might be a little confusing. Or do we have to, is that inherently understood? I think that's one thing I heard the developer mention, that the admission is free.
Yes, we will make sure of that.
Okay,
Admission
thank you.
to the festival is free of charge to the public.
And no charge to the
vendors who they will work in concert with the hotel will ensure that they are not charged a fee to be able to be part of.
Thank you. Thank you,
of
Chair
the
Waters,
festival.
and thank you, Chair Kiaʻāina.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so is there any discussion, further discussion, objections or reservations to these recommendations? Hearing none, the resolution has been amended to a CD1. The chair then recommends that Resolution 25-92 CD1 be reported out for adoption. Any discussion, any objections or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Thank you to the developer and all your team. I know it's been a long time coming, and I do know that you guys have endeavored to come to each one of us to provide thorough briefings on all parts of the process. Thank you. We are going to, members, we're going to go back to agenda item number 5 for action, Resolution 25-86. This resolution initiates amendments to the revised charter of the City and County of Honolulu, 1973, as amended, pursuant to the Mayor's Executive Reorganization Authority relating to the Office of Housing, Department of Community Services, Department of Planning and Permitting, Department of Land Management, and Department of Budget and Fiscal Services. By Mayor's Message 44-2025, the Mayor submitted a proposed CD1 version of Resolution 25-86. The proposed CD1 was posted on the agenda and is the same as the CD1 that was attached to the Mayor's Message 44-2025. Earlier, I had already taken public testimony, so we're going to be hearing from the administration, and here for the administration is Kevin Auger, Executive Director of the Office of Housing for the Mayor.
Great. Thank you very much, Committee Chair Kiaʻāina, and hello, Council and committee members. I apologize, I have a really bad head cold, and I also want to apologize for our tardiness earlier in the session today. We're grateful to the committee for including this resolution on its agenda, and apologize for being late. The administration supports the proposed CD1 to Resolution 2586, and I'm here to respond to any questions that the committee may have.
Members? Questions? Do you want, how about, we'll wait then? Are you ready?
You can go first, and then
Okay, Councilmember Okimoto.
Thank you, Committee Chair Ken. I just had a question for DPP, if that's okay. I know Director Apuna was up here earlier, or Executive, I'm sorry, Deputy Director. Thank you. Earlier, Director Apuna was up here and mentioned, and I think the reso has the impact on how it impacts DPP. I wanted to know, in your understanding, how the merge will impact your department, because we have you guys come before us often, and how you guys are improving, efficiencies and so forth. So with this merge, whether negatively or positively or in any way, how does this impact with the positions being shuffled around and responsibilities as well?
Thank you for that question, Councilmember Okimoto. So as I understand it, some of the responsibilities that our planning division does is they review affordable housing agreements. So this is still a residual of how the housing department responsibilities got split up. Some went to the Department of Community Services, others came to the Department of Planning and Permitting. So the idea of consolidating a lot of those responsibilities again into one department will actually, I think, increase efficiency. While we would be losing, I believe, a position or two and the funding for that, it would go under a supervisor who directly worked on those kinds of affordable housing agreements, and therefore it would be beneficial to the DPP because it is not it's sort of an ancillary responsibility of the planning division. It's not kind of their bread and butter daily work. So the Department of Planning and Permitting has been really supportive of the idea of shifting some of these responsibilities over to consolidate, make sure they're consistent across all departments, and increase efficiency.
Well, that's really good to know. Are there any areas where it would then affect the efficiencies in the current department in a negative manner, or make it less efficient for what you guys are responsible to do?
Well, I personally don't know. I don't think so. I think that there are additional questions about just in general how, say, 201H affordable housing projects, like the development scheme of them, would still, as far as I understand, be with the Department of Planning and Permitting. And that's where we have more of a specialized knowledge. Affordable housing agreements are subsequent to all of those approvals. So I don't know of any particular way that this change would negatively affect the department.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
Councilmember Cordero. Any of the members, Chair Waters? Vice Chair Waters?
No questions for DPP.
Questions for the Director of Housing?
Yes, please. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair Waters.
So the new department's going to be housing and land management, right?
Indeed.
So is that because we're going to put emphasis on housing? Land management is important, but as the mayor mentioned in his inauguration speech, in his State of the City speech, housing is number one. So I just want to know, like, how many staff members in the new department are going to be dedicated towards housing?
It's a great question, Chair Waters. I appreciate that. The new platform that we'll establish will basically be a fundamental pivot in the way that the city addresses housing solutions. We currently have a policy-driven approach, and we're going to be pivoting to an execution-driven platform. The new plan that we proposed, or the platform that we proposed, would include, originally we were seeking 51 positions, but due to the timing with budget this year, the 4 new positions that we were seeking, we weren't able to get into the budget. But the new platform, as of July 1st, if it's approved and the budget's approved, would have 47 positions. The Department of Land Management currently has 23 existing occupied positions. So we'll be looking to staff up pretty heavily. The platform includes 3 distinct new divisions that we currently don't have. One would be a housing division that would work with local developers to support and facilitate housing development. In fact, as I think the council is aware, we've issued a number of requests for qualifications with development partners. We issued one in January that included 4 properties, many of which had been on the city's books for several years, if not decades. And the response to that was exceptional. So we're very pleased with that. We have an open solicitation currently for the Evile Center property that's due April 20th. So that the development division would help support those types of efforts. In addition, we would be establishing that division would have approximately, I think it's 5 or 6 people. In addition, we'll be establishing a housing finance division that would have an equal number of people and that are staff, and that would be pulling in existing empty positions at DPP. So we're not creating, not expanding government, and the private activity bond function, plus additional financing solutions that we'll be seeking as we move forward. Additionally, it will consolidate the mayor's current Office of Housing into a new housing policy division that'll focus specifically on housing policy. The head of that division is an appointed position under the mayor's authority, which will give the current administration and future administrations the ability to influence policy going forward. So we thought that was an important feature of the overall reorganization. I hope that answers the question.
I came in late. I may have missed this, but did you provide to the committee a handout outlining what you just talked about?
I didn't, but I'm happy to walk through it if you like.
Oh, you kind of just did, but I think it would be really helpful. I mean, you said a lot of things, so just let me try to unpack it. So DLM currently has 23 filled positions,
Yes.
right? But they're allotted 47. Is that what you're saying? And therefore, there's 24 current vacant positions.
There will be 24 current vacant positions if the resolution is approved and the budget is approved.
Right. And then you want to, okay, wait, you want to add 4, right?
We're seeking to add 4 additional positions for a total of 51.
Right. So that's 28 vacant positions you're going to have.
That's correct.
Okay, and then I guess what would be helpful for us to know is how you plan to divvy up those 28 positions, right? I know you talked about housing finance division and private activity bonds and housing policy division, but I think it'd be really helpful for this committee. And by the way, I got to apologize to the housing chair that perhaps this could have gone, or maybe should have gone as well to the housing committee. But I think that would be very, very helpful for us at the council, as well as our constituents, to know exactly where those 28 vacant positions are going to go.
Certainly, Chair Waters. We presented a summary of the city's housing plan to the Housing Committee on January 15th, and included in those strategies, and currently on the Office of Housing's website, the housing plan includes a detailed description and organizational chart of the proposed new platform.
Appreciate that. I'll go back and take a look.
And I'll be happy to get that to council
Yeah,
if
it
needed.
just might have been helpful for today's hearing to do that as well. Okay, thank you, Chair.
Councilmember Wire?
Thank you, Chair. I didn't have any questions, but just wanted to say mahalo for the work that's gone into it. I know when we did the working group over, what was it, a year, I think everyone had different ideas and we made concessions. Like I know like my initial inclination wasn't to completely merge the housing office, but I know that's kind of what materialized. And so just wanted to acknowledge that I'm sure there's a lot of outstanding questions, but just I am proud of the work that we've done and appreciate the work, that's been materialized. So just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vice Chair Wire.
Vice Chair DeSantis Tam?
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to ask specifically about what you just mentioned regarding the Housing Policy Division Administrator. There are several divisions proposed within DHLM, correct? But this is the only one that would have a charter-specified experience requirement and specify that it's the mayor who appoints and removes this person. Why is it only this division versus any of the others?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So the mayor, under his authority, has the authority to appoint a director, a deputy director, and within the Office of Housing and under the mayor's authority, the mayor also has the ability to appoint an executive for housing. That's the official title. And through the work that we did in reviewing a potential reorg, it became evident that that would be a useful feature to have because we could embed it in the policy function, which would not bury the policy function, but provide this administration and future administrations the ability to appoint that individual to carry out the proposed will and objectives of the future administrations.
I guess my concern is it specifies that this executive for housing shall have a minimum of 3 years of experience in the administration of affordable housing programs or projects, but this person's role would be for housing policy, and there may be some folks who have studied housing policy and would have good recommendations who maybe have never, say, administered the grant side of it, never been in charge of a housing complex, but their perspectives would be just as valuable. And so I'm a little concerned about making it so specific in charter, whereas perhaps via ordinance, we could provide some parameters around it, so that in the future it might be a little bit more flexible. Again, I just don't want to lock it into charter and find out 5 or 6 years from now, I wish we'd done it a different way, and we have to go to the voters again to change it.
Well, we could certainly work with you. It's a good recommendation. I will add that the folks that we're looking at for this particular role are much more senior than 3 years of experience. I mean, the folks that we're looking for somebody with really broad background experience.
And I have no doubt that they would be, a very thoughtful and well-experienced person. I just worry about locking in that requirement because our housing needs may change in a few years, or maybe the department needs a different, set of divisions to really manage all the programs that might fall underneath it in 5, 6, or 10 years' time.
Appreciate those comments and would be happy to work with the Councilmember on that.
Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Director Auger. I was wondering about the Finance Division, if it's going to be including things such as grants, since finance includes issuance of grants.
Really terrific question. So one of the positions we've completed the position descriptions for all 51 positions, and embedded within the Finance Division is a position that would specifically, a majority of its time for that staff member would be focused on working on federal grants. We recently applied for a federal grant for master planning in the Evil area in a joint effort with the Governor's Office of Housing, and we were very successful in that. And I think that was a learning experience that we're leaving a lot of money on the table as the city, and we should have folks focused on this so that we can work together both with the state and internally to pursue more federal grant opportunities and state grant opportunities. We want a $700,000 OPSD state planning grant as well.
Okay, thank you. I also want to ask about the certain grants that then DCS would be managing.
Yeah, so for instance, where there is synergy and where we can collaborate, we do. So for instance, with the FTA grant that we won, Federal Transportation Administration, we're actually partnering with the Department of Transportation Services because they manage FTA grants. So although it's for master planning, for housing development and mixed-use development in the Evil area, we're working very closely with our colleagues at DTS to not only secure the grant, but to administer it. So there's a lot of good overlap. So where there would be synergies potentially with DCS, naturally we would collaborate with them on those grants.
So the DCS functions of any federal or state grants that we then issue out as grant and aids fund would then remain at DCS.
This would remain at DCS, that's correct.
Okay, so where are the different lines again for what will go to housing finance and what will stay with DCS?
Yeah, so a fundamental approach when we, as Vice Chair Wire mentioned, when we put the working group together, a fundamental approach through discussion with a pretty broad group of stakeholders was a conclusion that it made more sense to merge the housing functions with the folks that do property transactions, because that's really the technical side of securing property, acquiring property, managing property, et cetera, and segregating the homeless and supportive services functions within DCS. I mean, to give you an example, I'm a development and finance and housing guy and have been 40 years, but I don't really know much about the social services required to address our homeless population and the most vulnerable among us. So it just needs to make more sense to rationalize our portfolios and what we do and have the Department of Community Services focus on homeless and supportive functions, and the Department of Housing and Land Management focus on the technical transaction and finance side.
Thank you. And next, I just have a question about housing policy and how it's going to be coordinated with the council. I do appreciate that some of our members were able to be a part of the working group. And I know that during the budget process, I was able to share where I would have liked to see possible mergers, and including when you did join under Office of Housing as, I don't know if it was deputy or what your position was, title was then, but I definitely was able, I definitely know that we all had different ideas, and I understand, and I'm glad that Vice Chair Wire brought that up. But I just want to see where we are incorporated, because we are the policymakers.
I couldn't agree more. So we currently have an affordable housing working group that Housing Chair Wire attends and his staff. And we also recently established a policy working group that's supported by, or will be supported by, UHERO and their researchers, where we're currently conducting a top-down review of all of our existing policies, rules, and recommendations to try to understand a little bit better with data what's working, what's not, so we can come back to council with recommendations. And any and all council members are certainly welcome to attend those meetings. They're open, they're inclusive, and we would appreciate the feedback.
Thank you for being inclusive of that. I think we just got to be careful of ourselves, of who will attend and what decisions or possible recommendations are made, because they then may end up as policy here where we can't break our sunshine law. But I do want to, thank you for sharing that policy working group information. And I'm glad that the Affordable Housing Working Group is still going on. As for DPP, and even formerly, there were DFM staff that then were absorbed into the DLM, the current DLM functions. So where do you see that, hold on, I lost the, okay. So where do you see that the Conservation Office, is that going to be also absorbing some of the, what's it called? The preservation positions under DPP?
Under DPP, no. So
Okay.
we currently have two positions in what will become the Clean Water and Conservation Office, supported by the Clean Water and Conservation Committee.
Okay, so conservation is going to be directly related to the commission
That's correct, at the administrative level.
at the administrative level. Okay, that's not clear. Okay. Okay, well, I just have to say that definitely I've seen DLM from before, when it was just an idea, then when it was stood up, and so definitely has changed for sure. And I know that we've been talking about merging these things for a while, so I'll be listening to more of the conversations.
Councilmember Okimoto.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Director Ajay.
Good morning.
I wanted to just kind of clarify, and I heard you say it today, and I recall you saying it in our one-on-one meeting, and you mentioned that the goal is to, with the merge, is to move from policy-driven housing to, and I'm not sure if I quite understand exactly what the shift is. And I did note that you, on your top 3 things, you have this housing policy division with the position that we had talked about. Councilmember Dos Santos Tam mentioned this appointed position. So could you again specify what your goal is when you said you're moving from policy-driven housing to what are we doing, and how that relates to this policy-driven division, housing policy division with the appointed position?
It's a really good question, and I'll try my best to make the distinction. So in the past, when the mayor took office, there was literally one person in the housing office of the mayor that was managing both housing functions and homeless functions. Since that time, we currently have 4 people that manage policy, but we weren't doing aggressive things like reviewing our current portfolio to understand what types of assets that we had in our portfolio that could be used for housing, for instance. We weren't doing aggressive things like working with the governor's office to allow us to issue EPs, issue requests for qualifications under the governor's emergency proclamation for housing while we're working through the adjustments and amendments to Chapter 38. We weren't actively seeking development partners, which is extremely important for the city because it allows us to build capacity. We don't want to be in the development business. I think we went through that exercise once before in the past and it didn't work out so well, but we could certainly be doing more to support and to work with development partners to deliver housing. And that's our current goal now with the 4 or 5 RFQs that are currently in play. So when we talk about a pivot, it doesn't mean that we leave housing policy behind. It means that we expand our platform to do more. So if we can work with, public lands are really important to development partners because they allow the development partner to go out and seek its entitlements and use its funding to pay for the cost of securing those entitlements without having to carry a big land burden. It also helps the city because it's a city asset. It will remain a city asset, and we can potentially maintain affordable housing units into perpetuity. If we typically do a 60, 65-year ground lease, at the end of that ground lease provision, the property reverts back to the city, and we can do it again. Equally important is finding ways to finance assets. I think, as I mentioned in the January 15th presentation that we made, the most important and effective financial asset that we currently have to support affordable housing is the low-income housing tax credit. And that's facilitated by the state through the HHFDC, the Hawaii Housing Development Finance Corporation. But it's really limited. With our bond cap, which we've, private activity bond capacity, which we've recently taken back after a 23, 24-year hiatus, that provides us with about $142-ish million that we can direct that's combined with LIHTC to build assets on Oahu. But statewide, that resource only delivers, if we look at what the HHFDC has awarded over the last 5 years, it's less than 1,000 units a year. And that translates roughly to about 400 units on Oahu. So we need to find additional ways to finance housing so that we can deliver more. And so combining, having a development division that, I apologize, I have a nasty head cold, having a development division that works with development partners, having a finance division that can help to finance those developments, having a policy division that can work independently to help create better policy and rules, regulations, and ordinances, in addition to all of the other work that the Department of Land Management currently does around securing property and acquiring property for city use. Having all that team together and being able to leverage those skill sets across the platform, we believe will be very powerful.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. And I do want to go back on a couple of things, and because I think some of the things you're sharing today might be different, and maybe we met a couple of months ago, because I did recall in our one-on-one meeting that you did mention the city's role, from your understanding, from what I understand you saying, was to at some point we may be dealing with development. So is this what I'm hearing different today? So today you're saying that with this combined department, the role of the city would be to look at our current spaces first, and then use those lots first, those properties, and then if necessary, we go into acquiring other parcels, which is what the DLM has, that's been their role. But I want to understand with this combined department, what is your understanding of the role of where we now stand? Because now I'm hearing that we're going to be working with local developers, but from what I understood when we met, which was a little concerning to me, we were going to be doing the developing, and I had concerns about that. That's not what I felt like our responsibility should be.
I understand, and great question, and thank you for allowing me the opportunity to make the distinction. When we talk about development, the administration, ourselves, we don't want to be in the development business as developers. We did that with the Department of Housing and Community Development several years ago, 30 years ago, and that didn't work out so well. What we want to do is facilitate development working together in partnership with development partners. So, we partner together, we provide a piece of land, or maybe they bring a piece of land to us, and we help facilitate development, and we help provide, hopefully in the future, financing for that development so we can deliver more housing. That's really the goal. So we don't want to be, and if I was not clear in how I explained that to you, I apologize, but we don't want to be developers. We're not going to be wearing hard hats and building stuff and hiring cranes. And
I appreciate you clarifying that. And is that the same for property management? Is that something that we will then also outsource, or is that something that the administration feels the city should also take responsibility for?
Yeah, so the city currently has, in our existing portfolio that's spread out between Department of Community Services and the Department of Land Management, we currently own 30 or more properties that contain approximately 3,000 units of affordable housing. Many of those have been in our portfolio for decades. They're legacy assets that were built by the Housing and Community Development Division years and years and years ago. We have a small team. I think we currently have 7 people that oversee about 1,500 units for the Department of Land Management, but they oversee third-party managers that directly manage the asset. So we don't manage the asset, we don't touch cash, we don't do any of those things. All of those functions are managed through third-party managers.
That makes sense. And I remember having conversations with Director Tashner in the past about this, and I think we are on the same page of understanding that we didn't feel that the city should be directly being property managers. So in your positions for the department, you mentioned 51 to 47, or are these positions that's included? So these are the ones that will then be working and have oversight over the property managers. That's included in your current plan?
That's correct. And if I may, you had an excellent question for DPP, and I'd just like to elaborate on that just a little bit. So we're not quite done yet with the reorganization. There's a second phase of this to go. In fact, I'm meeting with DPP director and deputy director on Monday, because what the real goal is we want to help DPP. DPP should be focused on land use, zoning, and permitting. They have been maybe had a lot of functions that have been sort of dumped on them over time because there was no place else to do that. So one of the distinctions that we're making is, pre-construction, when a developer or third-party client is coming in for its permits, it will work with DPP. But post-construction compliance, that should go somewhere else, and maybe that goes to the Department of the division. Apologize for the head cold. To the Division of Development, where we can assist with that, and so separate out these roles to make their lives easier. In addition to that, on the property management side, as I mentioned, DCS currently has a portfolio of roughly 15 assets that have around 1,400 units of affordable housing. The DLM has a similar sized portfolio. Within the DLM's portfolio, there are some supportive type housing assets that probably are better positioned within DCS, and there are affordable housing assets within DCS that would be better positioned with DLM. So we're having a conversation about how we better rationalize that portfolio so that we can manage it all more efficiently. And that would be the second phase of the reorganization.
Okay, thank you, Director. Thank you, Chair.
Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Director Auger again. I do have a clarifying question, but I also want to add that I think you mentioned policy to execution. That's where you were shifting it towards, right? And so I just wanted to note that. So for real estate assets, as well as also getting different properties, are we looking at just housing, or are we looking at core city functions like that we had with DCS on North School Street? Like, what is more of a priority for, I guess, the new DHLM and the different merging of agencies?
Great question, and I think it's similar to the question that Chair Waters was asking earlier, which is, you know, is it housing or is it land management? The equal priority. We're just expanding our capability. That's really the key. If the city needs a fire department, if DCS needs offices like those that we're acquiring from HPU on School Street, DLM will facilitate that acquisition. That's what we do best. But being able to leverage that skill set within the existing staff to also assist with housing type functions is really where the synergy is created.
Okay, thank you.
Hopefully that answers the question.
Thank you, Chair.
Members, any other questions? Councilmember Wire.
Thank you, Jared. No, I just had a follow-up from that just to make sure I was hearing. So it sounds like you're saying, so every acquisition is pretty much going to go through DLM with staffing that's doing the due diligence, the review. I mean, you might bring in other folks, but generally DLM's going to handle everything in terms of what the city acquires. So it might maybe housing, maybe other things.
It will be housing and other things, for sure.
Yeah. Okay, appreciate that. Thank you.
Members, any other questions? Thank you. The chair recommends that Resolution 25-86 be amended to the posted CD1. Any discussions, any objections or reservations? Hearing none, the resolution has been amended to a CD1. Given the dialogue that has occurred today and the fact that I also feel that I also would like to see a PowerPoint that visualizes where things are now and where things are going to go, as well as the you specify the positions as well as the dollar amount. The chair is going to be recommending that action on Resolution 25-86 be postponed to a date and time to be determined by the committee chair. My likely recommendation to both the chair as well as the full council chair as well as the chair of housing is that given that we have a time constraint of 60 days that the resolution was introduced until we have to act, we can potentially have a hearing before the Housing Committee on April 30th. And following that, we have a Committee on International Legal Affairs where we are all members, where we could potentially have a full council hearing. And the reason, I hope you understand, Executive Director, this is a big deal, and you know it's a big deal. I think we would just all like to have things be a little better prepared, and even for yourself. So I will be asking after this meeting when we talk about rescheduling, we would like to have the PowerPoint prior to that, if you don't mind. And I have a lot of questions. I'm concerned about the Department of Land Management and its future. And so I would like to have the full team that's impacted be here for that hearing.
It'd be a pleasure to organize that for you.
Okay,
Chair
so
Kiaʻāina.
does anybody else have any comments on what I am recommending?
Well, Chair, just quick question. So it sounds like you're saying we would either do an info briefing in housing or
Not an
ILA?
info briefing. I'm postponing. I adopted the CD1,
Yeah.
and then I'm going to postpone the moving out of the and to be considered by full council when we all meet at the committee for after the Committee on International and Legal Affairs. And the reason being, we have a May 7th deadline.
Perfect. Okay, understood. I think I maybe just misheard aspects.
And so I would pass the CD1 and postpone further consideration until the next hearing. Okay, are we good? So, so I made my recommendation. Any discussions, any objections or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. And I just wanted to thank everyone for being here. And I wanted to say happy birthday to Sherry of the clerk's office today, happy birthday, Sherry. So thank you to the clerk's office and the Office of Consular Services. These are always long hearings, and there's a lot of work going into it. Yes.
May I make an announcement?
Sure.
Chair, I would also like to wish our fellow colleague, Councilmember Scott Nishimoto, a happy birthday as well.
Okay. Happy birthday, Councilmember Nishimoto. There being no further business, this meeting is adjourned.